Welcome back inside the lab, everybody. That is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, alongside my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele Roden. It's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. Monday Waiver-Wire special. The top 5 players in the game and a whole bunch of big-time bets. It's a jam-packed episode, and let's get right to it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? You heard the music and you know what time it is. It is time for your source for fantasy hockey news, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We see and appreciate you, and we are available Monday to Friday across all platforms you find your favorite content, and we are for free. So show us that love and smash that subscribe button, because Steele and I are just getting warmed up. The bets are getting back where we want them to be, people. Big week upcoming. We're going to get to Monday's bets. We're going to get to the waiver wire ads that are going to help your team through this week especially. But Steele and I need to get back to this conversation that we kicked off on Friday. Steele, you and I went back and forth about these best players in the NHL. And you know what? I've had some time to think about this. And my top 5 now, I think you and I are going to be pretty close. Yeah. Let's talk about it. It's been a good conversation so far. Why don't you hit me with your number 5 on the best players in the game right now in the NHL?
Yeah, number 5, we were talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins. I know Sidney Crosby was in your top 10 as well and working the way up. I think we should start with Kris Letang, as you mentioned before we hopped on here.
Thank you, my friend. Sorry, I forgot.
Back in action for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's great to see him back on the ice, skating with his teammates, getting back in the action, obviously after a very serious stroke just a couple of weeks ago, his second and 4 to 5 years. I think it was back in 2015 or 2016 where he had his first one. But it's really good to see him back on the ice. So congratulations for him for still being healthy and everyone taking care of him, all the doctors and everything. But it's a good transition into my number 5 player on the top 10 list. Sidney Crosby, his teammate, is the 5th overall best player for me. And just looking at all the statistics, all the facts that I can see in front of me, the visual effect of him actually watching him on the ice as well. Yeah. And looking at the top 10 for point leaders this season, you go down the list: McDavid, Draisaitl, Robertson, Tkachuk, Marner, all these other guys, Kucherov, Pastrnak, all those guys are under 29 years old. So the fact that Sidney Crosby is 35 years old, he's in the middle of the pack of the top 10 scoring leaders this year. I know Erik Karlsson's in the top 10 as well. He's 32 years old, but Sidney Crosby is getting it done at an extreme level, especially for his age. And for me, if he can play all 82 games, even maybe 78 games a season, there's no question in my mind that he gets over 100 points for the 7th time in his career.
This episode is jam-packed, and we have a lot to get to. But what's happening with the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, Steele, and I just have to talk about it quickly since Sidney Crosby is very accurately and deservedly at your 5th spot. Kris Letang coming back after having a stroke and then leading his team in ice time. I think he had like 8 hits. He was a force out there, and sometimes these things happen with teams. Special things, and they go on runs. And I'm not saying give Pittsburgh the credit like they're going to go on a cup run now, but Letang back in the fold and Crosby doing what he does. I don't know if you saw the play the other night where he slid into against the boards, stopped the puck with his shin, on his knees, feeds the puck back didn't get an assist, but they end up scoring. Look, special things are starting to happen with this Pittsburgh Penguin team, and kudos to Letang for being back. Kudos to you for having Crosby on your list, even higher than me. Nikita Kucherov. I know this is high on the list, Steele, and you had him, I think, probably more fittingly where you had him on your list. I think, what was it, 7 or 8 maybe?
I think it was 9. I think he was right in between Matthews and Marner, but yeah, he was from 10 to 6.
Which now, I said, I had time over the weekend to think about this. Look, this is a subjective list, but Kucherov has just been so impressive over his career, and maybe that's why I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid a bit with this player. He is so effective, and you made the best point possible with Kucherov. Everything runs through him. if he's not facilitating, he's freeing up his teammates. If he's not shooting, you know what I mean? He does a little bit of everything to make sure the offense clicks in Tampa Bay, and he's just getting it done. And hey, sure, could he have been maybe even out of the top 10 if you want to make some arguments? 11 goals, 28 assists, 39 points. He gets it done on the power play. He gets shots on net. I just love this guy's game. Steele, who are you looking at number 9? Or sorry, number 4.
Well, that's where I had at number 9, Nikita Kucherov. But to your point, I think he's like I argued on our episode the other day, he's one of the best passers, best vision on the ice that I've seen, besides obviously McDavid. And again, everything runs through him on the power play. That's why he's so special and so significant for his team. But at number 4, I have David Pastrnak from the Boston Bruins. And I think he has to be at number 4, or at least in the top 5.
He's my number 4 as well. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about him. And to me, what Pastrnak has been able to do since 2016 has been remarkable. He is so consistent, and the game just comes easy to him. And he makes everything look simple, especially the players around him, that he's able to elevate their game as well. It doesn't matter what sort of position or area of the ice you put Pastrnak, he will find a way to score a goal and put the puck in the net. It doesn't matter. Earlier on in the season, I saw him score a backhand it looked like it was 98 miles an hour along the boards, goes over Shesterkin's shoulder, bar down, incredible what Pastrnak is able to do consistently over the last 6 years. And for me, he's jumped all over these other guys to get to this number 4 spot on the top 10 list.
Let me just ream off the point total since 2017, because you are making that point that he's just continued to be consistent and nasty. 70 points, 80 points, 81 points, 95 points, COVID-shortened season, 48 points in 48 games. Last season, 77 points, already at 37. Thank you for having him at this number, because, again, I've had the time to think about it, Steele, and I don't know, this is such a tough list given how many.
It is.
We have guys on heaters across the league that we've never seen in 30 years. This is some special stuff. So, David Pastrnak is just a really special player, and I think what's impressed me the most this season, we know Marchand, Bergeron, all these other pieces in Boston, it's almost like they've got it done by committee. This year really feels like it's Pastrnak getting it done. I know Linus Ullmark is doing special things in the crease, but you know what I'm saying? Up front, it really feels like it's Pastrnak stirring the drink, and I'd love to see it because, hey, I took some heat for passing on him and taking Sorokin. I'm lucky that Sorokin is doing well this season, but it was still a bold take because of how good Pastrnak has been, putting up those offensive numbers. We both have the same guy at number 4. 3, 2, 1 coming, and waiver wire and big time bets. We got to squeeze it all in, but I got to pay these bills, and we got to talk about our friends at Simply Safe, because today's episode is brought to you by Simply Safe. At the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, we believe home should be where you and your family feel the safest, especially over the holidays. This season, give you and your family the gift of peace of mind and protection with the number 1 home-rated security system out there. That is Simply Safe. Right now, Simply Safe is offering Locked On Fantasy Hockey listeners 40% off a new system. Don't put it off, and here's why Steele and I love it. You can have round-the-clock peace of mind with the Simply Safe professional team at your back, 24/7 monitoring with an agent or customer support staff. They have the best home security system of 2022, named by the News and World Report. That's a 3rd year in a row. Don't miss your chance to save big on my favorite security system and Steele's. You can get 40% off any new system at simplysafe.com/LockedOnNHL right now. That's simplysafe.com/LockedOnNHL. There is no safe like Simply Safe.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, please check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. We are going to get to the waiver wire selections. We are going to get to big time bets, but we got to get to our top 3 players in the NHL right now. I think everyone knows the top 3 players in the NHL right now. So. It all just depends on what order we put them in, specifically number 3 and 2. So I'll throw it over to you, Flip. Who do you have at number 3, third best overall player in the NHL right now?
We got to have the same here. Number 3. Actually, you know what? 2 and 3 could be interchangeable, and I appreciate this conversation we're hopefully about to have. I have Jason Robertson at number 3, Steele. And the number 2 are the 2 forwards on the Edmonton Oilers who are absolutely dicing teams up. Aside from your boy Philip Gustafson the other night, who shut them out impressively. Look, Jason Robertson, it's weird that this is happening, and we haven't talked too much about the streaks on their own. I know Robertson's is done. Marner's continues. Kirill Kaprizov has a good streak going. There's a bunch of other players in the NHL.
Well, his Kaprizov streak just ended the other day against the Canucks.
Thank you very much. But you know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy because usually this happens one at a time and you can really just enjoy it. Jason Robertson, this is impressive stuff, Steele. We've talked a little bit about this player. 42 points in 28 games on that line with Rupe Hintz and Joe Pavelski. Obviously, those 3 guys get it done and like playing together. Special stuff going on from Robertson. All I can say is this Dallas Stars team is pesky. You called out their veterans as key pieces to this team bouncing back and doing well. And now watch them go. Jake Ottinger is worth the price of admission. I'm going to talk about him on the waiver wire a little bit. Sorry, not the waiver wire. Big time bets. That's my bad. But hey, Jason Robertson, special stuff. And he is a top 5 player right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a top 5, top 3 in. I actually have Leon Draisaitl at number 3, and I think that's just a factor of obviously him playing with Connor McDavid and the fact, would he be able to do this if he didn't have McDavid beside him? And I was looking at this from an angle, like I know for a fact that Jason Robertson has more help around him. He has more depth scoring and better defense to help him with his production rates, but it's obviously Draisaitl and McDavid against the world. They're able to do whatever they're able to do. And we've seen them do it consistently over the last 4 or 5 years together now. And for me, it's just the fact of Jason Robertson being this young, being the first one to 20 goals this season as well. He's ahead, or he's with those guys, Draisaitl and McDavid right now. Like, Robertson has 42 points in 28 games. Draisaitl has 4 more points than him in 28 games. And then McDavid's just ahead of the bunch, obviously at number 1 for us with 54 in 28 games. So obviously, like you said, these guys could be interchangeable. But for me, Robertson right now is ahead of Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, interesting point you're making about the supporting cast because, the Edmonton Oilers, say what you will about the defense and the goaltending. Their supporting offense is decent. Zach Hyman, I don't hate. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, if they have Evander Kane back, that adds a whole other wrinkle to that offense, Steele.
Yeah.
That's what really impresses me, and that's what I wanted to talk about quickly because obviously I have Draisaitl at 2, and Connor McDavid is at 1 for both of us, and we'll get there in a second, but that is obvious. But what I've been impressed with is that Draisaitl and McDavid are still getting this done now, even after losing that addition of Evander Kane, who was so effective since joining the Edmonton Oilers. Say what you want about his past, off ice or whatever, putting money in his ear like a bit of a goon in Vegas. He was getting it done for the Edmonton Oilers and being another option that was taking away the attention from those 2 guys a little bit. This is special stuff. And look, I can't even disagree that you have Robertson ahead of Draisaitl, but let's just talk super quickly about Connor McDavid. Like 90 seconds here because he is a step ahead, maybe a step and a half on every other skater in the league. When he decides to turn it on, Steele, that is what really sets him apart for me, number 1. And number 2, he's starting to shoot the puck a lot more. This is bad news for NHL goalies.
He's at a 7-game goal streak right now. It's incredible that he's shooting
25 goals, 29 assists, 54 points. He's on pace. I know on pace means not a whole ton. He's on pace to break 150 points, Steele. That might be a bold ask. Could he do 125, 130? I'm saying no problem.
Yeah, no problem.
So this is just really, really, at the end of the day, impressive stuff and fun to watch. I hope you on the West Coast, as you're able to, I know you went to the Wild Canucks game on Saturday. I hope you can maybe spend a couple of extra bucks maybe on winning bets, which we're going to get to, and maybe see McDavid at some point down the stretch here. I don't know if they're going to be in Vancouver, but that would be a pretty ticket.
I'll have to take a look at the schedule. I did see him early on in the year, though, when they played the Calgary Flames. It was at the beginning of the season.
Oh, yeah, you did. I forgot. Battle of Alberta on your cross-country
trip. Good to see
trip.
that. Yeah, it was like 6 goals in the first 5 minutes of the game. It was before I even got in my seat. What an incredible game that was. Let's get to the waiver wire, though. That's what everyone's waiting to hear for this upcoming week. My first selection, a guy that I'm targeting for this upcoming week, I already have him on one of my fantasy teams. You and I have talked about him a little bit. Viktor Arvidsson from the LA Kings. I know our good friend Michael Amato has talked about him as well. Viktor Arvidsson turning things up right now. 9 points in his last 11 games, 22 points in 28 games so far this season. He's looked pretty good. He's only owned at 33% on Yahoo, a little bit higher on ESPN, 55%, but his shooting percentage is at 12.1 right now. I still think he needs to shoot the puck a little bit more. He only has 66 shots on net this season, so I'd like to see the puck on the net a little bit more from Arvidsson because he does have a really underrated shot. And the Kings have 3 games this upcoming week. They take on the Buffalo Sabres, the Boston Bruins, and the San Jose Sharks.
That second line in LA, you and I have highlighted them a few times last season, especially. Just a little bit of a very balanced line. Trevor Moore, Arvidsson, Deneau looked good on Saturday night. I believe that was against the Habs that I was watching that game. I think they beat the Habs 4-2 or something like that. Cole Caulfield gets it done. Anyway, just had to throw that out there. I'm doing this very quickly, Steele. I went a little bit more under the radar for my first one because I also saw a very nasty play from him on the backhand against the Canucks. Sam Steele on the Minnesota Wild is going to get a little bit of a look here on the top line with Kaprizov and Zuccarello. Is he going to stick? I don't know. Does he have all of the offensive skills I would like to see from a line mate with those two? Maybe not. But he is out there. I believe he's literally 4% in ESPN. Hold on, let me pull this up. 2% in ESPN. 6 goals, 2 assists. But the numbers are creeping, Steele, for the minutes. The last 5 games, 21 minutes, 17, 15, 16, and then 19. You know I love that as an indication. If it's worth an ad, Sam Steele playing on that top line, worth an ad.
Yeah, he's looked good on that top line, too. He's been there for the last week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks now, and I really like the production rate that he's going at. Like you said, everything is trending upwards for him. The second guy I'm taking a look at, Zach Parise of the New York Islanders. Owned it 12% on Yahoo, 9% on ESPN. He's got 9 goals, 14 points this season, 65 fantasy points. But he gets everything done. 71 shots, 31 hits, 29 blocks. He's got 5 points on the power play. You know, decent shorthanded as well. They have the New York Islanders have 3 games this upcoming week. Boston Bruins, Arizona Coyotes, and the Vegas Golden Knights, which I think 2 out of the 3 are respectable games because the Coyotes at the bottom of the league right now, and the Vegas Golden Knights hurting a little bit with some injuries.
Interesting angle that you're bringing up here with the games played and the schedule strength, because I just need to take a look at the Calgary Flames. And I know you're like, whoa, they're not playing so great right now. They have 4 games this week. Number 1, Montreal, Vancouver, St. Louis, and San Jose. You need to be looking at Dan Vladar again. I know I said it last week, but also some of these peripheral offensive pieces that haven't done too much this season. But if you're looking for just a flyer or a fill-in this week, why not pounce on a team that's going to play 4 games? And say what you will about the Calgary Flames, there's still some value there. You know, the Dylan Dubés of the world, even, you know, Andre Mangiapane's been better. They're going to be out there for some ads down the lineup. I'm not going to get too crazy, but you could, even if you need a D-man who's on a bit of a heater, Noah Hannafin is getting second power play time. He had a couple of goals the other night. I just needed to highlight some lower pieces and very quickly, Steele, because you know me with sticking to my guns. Have you had a quick peek at my boy Seth Jarvis of late? Because hold the phone, all of a sudden, mans were on a little 5-6 game point streak that was snapped against the Islanders on Saturday night. That's okay. 5 goals, 8 assists, looking a lot better. You can't ignore what he did last season, and you can't ignore that he is available. 10% on ESPN. He will be out there. Again, these are short-term ads, people, but I'm liking where the direction is pointing for all of these players, and especially the Flames this week with 4 games against 4 very favorable opponents.
Yeah, if they've got 4 games on the schedule, you definitely have to take a look at that team and the other options they have in the forward core or on the blue line as well. Even the goalies, Dan Vladar, like you said. The last player I'm looking at before we get to big time bets, Alex Barabanov from the San Jose Sharks has been very underrated this season. Only owned at 4% on both Yahoo and ESPN leagues. So 3 goals, 19 points playing on the second line this season with Logan Couture, who is having a stellar season, by the way. 14 goals, 26 points for Couture. It's his second full season playing in the NHL. You know, he played a little bit with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Second full season this year with the San Jose Sharks. 51 shots, 19 blocks, 17 hits. The stats are going up a little bit. They also have 3 games this week. Arizona Coyotes, LA Kings, and those Calgary Flames you've been talking about. But let's get to the big time bets where the money is made. But before we get there, I got to let you know about betonline.net. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. They are your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball, soccer, and esports. They have it all on betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, that's exactly where you can find them too, at BetOnline. They are always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. So hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Flip, let's get right to it. Time's running down on this episode. I'll throw it over to you. What is your first pick of the night?
I don't know what is going on with this New York Rangers club, Steele, and given how well they performed last season, coming into the season with basically the same lineup, and Igor Shesterkin just being the number one guy, I don't know why they've been back and forth so much. I know we've talked about it a lot, but what I've seen lately is they're starting to figure it out just a little bit. And even just a little bit of it makes me want to continue to wager on a team that has underperformed. And they're going into this situation against a team that you and I can both agree have overachieved and have been the biggest overachievers this season in the New Jersey Devils. And I don't even hate your take on them being a first round exit if they do make it, just because of the lack of experience. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but let me just hit you with the Rangers on the money line as my first pick, -107 at home. Steele, this just feels like a really good spot for the Rangers to keep rolling. 3 wins in a row. I think they bang out tonight. 8-2-0 against the New Jersey Devils over their last 10. I think this is just a great spot for the Rangers in general. I know how good the Devils have been, but give me the Rangers on the money line, my first pick.
I knew I liked you for a reason, Flip, because that's my first pick of the night. Rangers on the money line. I think for me, over watching the Rangers this season a lot, I think the problem is they're having trouble scoring goals 5-on-5. They get a lot of their production on the power play. So that's a big problem for the Rangers. But like you said, 3 wins in a row. They're starting to score more goals. A 6-4 win against the Blues, a 5-1 win against Vegas, and a 2-1 win against Colorado. So starting to score a little bit more goals in that 3-game win stretch. But my second pick of the night, I'm taking the Nashville Predators on the money line against the St. Louis Blues. It's a back-to-back for these Blues. They played the Avalanche on Sunday, lost in overtime to them. So Thomas Greiss will be in net. They're going to be a little tired. Nashville Predators seem to be turning it on a little bit recently as well. I still like them to make the playoffs. So I've got the Predators on the money line.
This is a coin flip game for me, one that I'm staying away from. I appreciate the angles you're on, but let's keep this short and sweet. I've been looking at the Senators' money line situation here, and it's like -224 right now, Steele.
Yeah.
The Anaheim Ducks are bad, and they allow the most goals in the NHL. But after seeing Tim Stützle go on a little heater that he was, and now 2 games without a point, you're going to get a pretty good odd for Tim Stützle anytime point. I like the goal. I like the assist. I'm going to cop out and go Tim Stützle anytime point against the Anaheim Ducks because I wanted to bet the Senators here on the money line. There's just no value. So if you are looking at a parlay, throw the Senators on there. But I like Tim Stützle after 2 pointless nights. Just way too good, and the Ducks allow way too many goals. That's my second pick. If you don't mind, I'll ream off my lock just very quickly. I have, as much as last year, you were the puck line king, the puck line guru. I feel like I've been the over-under master lately.
You have been.
Both of my overs and unders with solid regularity. Dallas heads into this Pittsburgh Penguins team. The Penguins are playing very good hockey. And if you look at both of these teams, 2 pretty good seasons for both of these goaltenders in Tristan Jarry and Jake Ottinger. Tristan Jarry, 12-3-3 this season, 920 save percentage. Jake Ottinger, 11-3-3, 915 save percentage. This just smells like an understeal. How about not 7 of the last 9 Penguins games under the number, and 4 of the last 5 meetings between these two clubs under the number? I'm feeling it again. I've been going back and forth between picks on the lock for over and unders. Give me the under 6.5 at minus 115 in this Dallas-Pittsburgh game. Lock of the night.
It's gonna be a good game too. You can't go wrong with Ottinger and Jarry in the net. Even if the Smith is in the net, he's been pretty solid as well, backing him up.
Not bad.
I'm actually going back to that Senators-Ducks game that you were talking about. There is no money to be made on the money line. That is why I'm going with the Senators on the puck line.
There he is.
You said it. The Ducks, the Ducks allow a lot of goals. I know the Senators do a little bit of that as well, but I've really liked Cam Talbot in the crease this year. He had a solid win against the Nashville Predators, 3-2 win over them. I think he had like 35 shots faced against, so only 2 goals allowed. And on the puck line, I might parlay all 3 of my picks: the Senators on the puck line, Rangers money line, and Predators money line to get a little bit more juicy odd there for myself. But Senators on the puck line is my lock of the night. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Once again, please check out Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.